Let us dive into Unit 7, Formulating the HR Plan. Trust me, this is one something like a blueprint of a building. If you mess up this thing, the whole structure of your organization is going to shake. But don't worry, I'll try my best to keep it fun, practical, and loaded with examples so that you won't feel like you are stuck in an Excel sheet yourself. Okay? Now, to begin with, let us start with the basics. What is human resource planning? HRP. What is it? HRP or human resource planning is simply, you can think of it like planning a wedding. Planning a wedding. How many of you have planned a wedding? Or if you have, then well and good. If you haven't, then I just want you to think like you are planning a wedding. What are things you will need to know? You will need to know how many guests are coming, how much food is needed to be ordered, who will be in charge of bringing the bride to the stage, who will welcome the groom to the stage, who will make sure that the food is handled properly, who will make sure the welcome drinks are available, who will make sure that the car is ready on time for the bride and groom to leave. Those things, right? Who is going to do what? These things we need to know. Now think of it in terms of corporate. HR planning helps an organization know how many people it needs, what skills it needs, and by when it needs. So it starts with checking who's already on board. Okay. Then it will look at where the business is headed, and then finally plug in any skill or staffing gaps. So if your company is planning to go global, then you better start looking for people who can handle cross-cultural teams and maybe even speak a particular foreign language or two, right? I'm not talking about Dothraki from Game of Thrones, but actual languages, right? And no Elvish from Rings of Power. Anyway, let us talk about the importance of formulating an HR plan. Just like every cricket team might need a strategy before they decide to hit the field, every organization also needs a solid HR plan to align people with the business goals. It helps in hiring the right talent, engaging them, managing their growth, and ensuring legal compliance. Most importantly, it helps in preparing for the future. So, HR planning is what makes sure that even if 20 people are resigning tomorrow, the organization will not collapse like a Jenga tower. Have you ever played Jenga? Let me know in the comments. So, HR planning is like that. Speaking of strategy, let us discuss about the HR grand strategy. You can think of it as big boss level of HR planning. It is not simply about hiring or firing, but rather it is about aligning the HR's goals with the business goals in the long run. There are two very important tools over here. One is the WATS analysis. Okay, WATS analysis. You've heard of SWOT analysis. Now learn about WATS analysis. It is like SWOT analysis only, but it is SWOT analysis cousin. It stands for, yeah, you guessed it, weakness, opportunity, threat, strength. It helps HR design long-term strategy. Like say for example, if your company is very strong in innovation, but it is weak in employee retention, then your HR grand strategy should focus on improving workplace engagement without losing the creative spark. Now comes the very interesting part, okay? Portfolio analysis. What is portfolio analysis? Does it mean that you're going to become an investment banker or something? No, no, no. In HR, portfolio analysis means you have to treat your workforce like assets. Some might be rising stars, some might be steady contributors, and some might, some might be hanging by a thread. So, in order to do this portfolio analysis, we have multiple tools like this PLC. PLC is product life cycle. Mm. Similarly, we have another tool that is BCG, BCG metrics. All these tools help HR people, HR folks to assess their employees' value. Let us and also helps to categorize our workforce. So let us start by trying to understand what PLC is, and then we'll take a quick look at the BCG matrix before we move on to the other uh, topics in this particular unit, right? So PLC, I'm sure, product life cycle is not something that is new to you. We all have studied about PLC, product life cycle, while we were learning MMPC 6. Remember, marketing for managers, first semester? We have all learned about PLC there. At that time, we were talking about PLC for any kind of a product or a service, that is an output of an organization. Now, what is PLC in HR? Let us try to understand, or let us try to map each of the different PLCs or product lifecycle stages like introduction, growth, maturity, and decline. But this time, rather than mapping it to a product, we will consider the product as our HR strategy. Okay, we will consider that the product that we are talking about in product lifecycle is nothing but our HR strategy. Now, thinking about the product as HR strategy, let us try to identify the PLCs. So, just like products, even HR strategies also go through these four stages of introduction, growth, maturity, and then lastly, decline. So, initially, the introductory stage is when you introduce that HR strategy, right? You are putting forth that HR strategy, that is introductory stage. Then once the HR strategy is introduced, we will start what you can say, implementing that HR strategy slowly in each department. We'll slowly start rolling out the HR strategy. That is the growth stage. It slowly gains acceptance. And then as time grows over time, it will reach maturity when all departments or everywhere this HR strategy is completely in force. So that is where we say that that strategy has reached maturity. Once it reaches maturity, we with maturity, usually what will happen is that we'll have very little improvement for the strategy, because why work on something which is already working, right? Why fix something which is already working? That kind of a mentality we'll fall into. That is what will happen once we fall into that mentality. Eventually, with time, slowly, our policy might get outdated, and with outdated starts that policies decline. This signals for a review, updates, or even a new strategy altogether. And with that new strategy or with updates, everything will start from what you can say, everything will go back to zero and start with again, once again, it start with introduction. So this is the mm, PLC approach, the PLC tool of doing the portfolio analysis. I hope you got an idea of it. Now let us go to the BCG metrics. Okay. The BCG metrics, or the Boston Consulting Group metrics, are also called as the growth share metrics. Okay. It's also known as the growth share metrics. It is a strategic business tool that is used to analyze and manage a company's portfolio. So this is how so when you think about it from a product perspective, this helps companies decide where to invest, develop, or discontinue products for, or even business units. How can you use this BCG metrics from an HR perspective? So this metrics can be used by HR to classify employees into four categories: stars, problem employees, workhorses, and deadwood. These are the four categories of employees according to the BCG metrics. How are these employees, or how are employees put into one of these four boxes? It is by checking about their reviewing their performance as well as their potential. So workhorses have very high performance. They perform very well, but they have low potential. So the potential to move ahead uh, in the for the next what you can say, the next step, they have very less potential, but they currently they perform well. That means they are workhorses. Stars are who are currently performing amazingly, absolute amazing, with high, very high. They have very high performance. At the same time, They will be an asset in the next step also. They have very high potential also. They are stars. Problem employees are having high potential, like they feel, it looks like they have good potential, but currently they are not performing well, so they are problem employees. And people who don't have much potential and are also performing low are termed in HR jargon as deadwood. Now, these boxes are not fixed. Let's say an employee is a workhorse right now. When I prepare the BCG metrics today, if an employee is falls under the workhorse box, it does not mean that tomorrow that same employee will not become or will not move into the star box or will not become a deadwood. There is no guarantee like that. Employees can move between these categories over time as a result of training or learning or even a decline in performance. So basically, this is a model which helps HR people plan succession as well as allocate resources more efficiently. So this is BCG metrics in short for you. So I hope you got a basic understanding of the PLC and BCG metrics as tools to assess the portfolio from HR planning perspective. Now let us jump into something that is a little bit more nerdier. Okay, HR forecasting approaches. This is how we predict the future manpower needs. So these forecasting approaches could be demand driven, like you need people for a particular project, then that is a demand driven forecasting. It could also be supply driven, like you might be checking who is retiring or who is resigning, so you need people to fill in gaps over there. Or it could be scenario based, like you are preparing or you are trying to have people for some, like for a future role which might come up, right? What if situations. Or it could also be data driven, like think of AI and machine learning, right? According to the predictions of AI or your machine learning algorithms, you're seeing that you need people or over a certain set of people, then that is a data driven forecasting. But most often, companies today are going for a hybrid approach, wherein they are mixing all these different types of approaches like demand driven, supply driven, scenario based, and data driven, mixing all these approaches and figuring out the HR needs. That has been shown to have a much better accuracy. Like for example, if you take the COVID times, right, companies had to forecast talent needs under highly unpredictable scenarios, and those who did not plan well, they vanished faster than free pizza at a hostel party, right? Now let us look at the optimization techniques. What are optimization techniques? Optimization techniques, one second. There is a mistake in the slide. Let me just quickly correct it and get back to you. Yeah, so some of the common optimization techniques. So, first of all, what are optimization techniques? These are techniques which help organizations plan smarter regarding their HR requirements by aligning talent needs with business goals while at the same time improving efficiency and adaptability. So, there are four major optimization techniques that we need to know about as per our course syllabus. They are leveraging hiring opportunities, considering different employee types, reviewing organogram. Now, this might be a new term for you, organogram. Don't worry, I will explain to you what this term means. And the fourth type of optimization technique is through surveying employees. Now let us look at each of these optimization techniques in short. Okay, what does it mean to leverage hiring opportunities? It means that we have to use forecasting to fill in skill gaps and strengthen our teams. We should not just be looking for replacing staff. We have to leverage the hiring opportunities. Considering different employee types means we have to explore options like part time employees, interns, or even contract staff and gig workers to meet the goals as well as cost effectively. Organogram. Now review organogram. What is organogram? Organogram is nothing but, you can think of organogram is nothing but organization's chart. An organization chart. It is a visual diagram which shows the structure of that particular organization. So it will have things like what are the roles and positions within the organization, what are the relationships and reporting lines, like who reports to whom, what are the hierarchy, things like that. Like, say, for example, there is a CEO, and under that CEO, we might have a CFO and a COO. Under that COO, there could be operations manager, there could be a logistics manager. So this is a nothing but such a diagram. This is nothing but an organogram. Okay, so we are saying one of the optimization technique is to review this organogram. That means we have to reassess the roles and the reporting structures. Sometimes we might even have to combine roles, because that would be better than hiring a new person for both these roles, or whatever roles that we are combining, right? And the fourth type of optimization technique that we need to know about is survey employees. That is, we survey employees means what? We have to conduct a survey within our employees so that we can gather insight from those employees about the future, about their future plans, or so that we can make plans to improve our forecasting accuracy and readiness. Does any of them plan of retiring early or switching jobs? What is it that you don't like about this job? What is it that you like about it? Such things, conduct a survey. So these are four of the most important optimization techniques. Now, let us also, before we wind up, I want to talk about the predictor selection. Okay, so predictor selection is for the analytics lovers. Okay, this is where you build an HR forecasting model. So you need to choose the right variables, things like age, experience, past performance, and all. But don't we don't want a lot of variables, because if there are too many variables, our model is going to get confused. There should be an optimum. It should not be like too less variables, then you'll not have a proper picture. There should not be too many also. There should be, we need to have an optimum balance. Okay, so it is like adding every single spice to a curry. If you decide to add every single spice to a curry, what will happen? It will become a disaster. Just like that, you need to know exactly what all things to add, what all variables to consider. So we have techniques like stepwise regression, lasso regression, and all, which can help in trimming down the unnecessary stuff. So definitely, this is where the technical, the statistics kind of things start coming, like sum of squared errors or R squared, lasso, all these things. These statistical models, they are used, and they what you can say, and they are used for predicting the accurately predicting the HR model. So, a few of the classic forecasting tools that I want to draw your attention to, one of them is Delphi technique. There are three more, so we will look at it one by one. So, Delphi technique, again, this is something that we have been learning since our first semester. I know you might all remember it, but there might be someone who might have forgotten what it is. So, for them, Delphi technique is a way of getting expert opinions anonymously, so that no one gets influenced by somebody else's ego or position or opinion. It is very useful in big organizations where HR managers might have very different opinions about whether we should hire or whether we should fire. So you basically go through multiple rounds of feedback until everyone reaches some sort of an agreement. Okay, there is no, there are, it is totally, you can say, it's not face to face. It is not something that is done face to face. So therefore, there will not be any kind of a shouting match or drama. Okay, so that is one such technique, one of the classic techniques, which classic tools that are used for this HR forecasting. We have three more, that is trend analysis, ratio analysis, and supply forecasting. Okay, so let us look at it. What is trend analysis first off? So trend analysis is using the past data, the past staffing data, to predict the future requirements for workforce. So what will happen with this trend analysis is that it will help balance the labor cost with the what you can say, business performance. Like, say for example, if your organization, every time your organization had a 10% profit, it is going to hire 100 new employees. If that is a trend that you can see in your past hiring practices, then you can use that to predict any kind of future staffing needs, something like that. Ratio analysis identifies the ideal staff to output ratio, like how many employees do you need per customer, how many students can one teacher effectively handle, in if it is in case of a school. So this maintains efficiency and also guides future hiring. Similarly, the third technique of forecasting is by using supply forecasting. Here we assess the internal talent that we have as well as the external labor market in order to plan for future staffing needs, and also uh, understand the hiring costs effectively. So these are some of the and then we already talked about the Delphi technique. So these are some of the classic tools that are used for HR forecasting. So, in summary, we can say that formulating an HR plan is not simply a formality, but rather it is the steering wheel of the organization. Whether it is using forecasting techniques or selecting predictors smartly, or crafting that grand HR strategy, everything works together to ensure that your company has the right people at the right time doing the right job. So that is it for unit number 7. I hope you found this session useful in your TEE preparation. Until we meet again, happy learning.